Welcome to Silent Service. My name is Will. That is Matt. We are delighted to have you here with us. Today, we are going to be chatting about one of the most important lessons I've learned recently, and that is to implement the law of attraction into my daily life. Matt, you've spoken to me extensively about it, and we're just delighted to chat about it. So, how are we doing, Matt?
I'm excited. I'm doing well. And something about the law of attraction, real quick, is not something that one like implements. It's a law, like gravity. It's always taking place, right? Like we don't get to choose whether or not gravity is working today or whether I'm going to practice gravity today. It is a law. So the law of attraction, like I'm super excited to talk about because it's in existence every day, all day, 24/7. Everyone should be aware of what the law of attraction is, how it works. So yeah, I'm pumped for this one. I'm excited. I'm doing well. How are you doing?
I'm doing awfully well. I watched a movie to prepare for this episode. The Secret came out in 2006. It was a book by this lady. I think her name is Roberta Bryan.
Rhonda.
Rhonda, excuse me, Rhonda
Rhonda
Bryan.
Burns or
Rhonda
Rhonda
Burns.
Bryan, something like that. So, Rhonda, we're so sorry, but we at least got your first name right.
Rhonda, please excuse my mistake. You are a wonderful author. I'm so happy your book was turned into a movie because it I can already tell it's going to do wonders in my life and wonders for the listeners um, of Silent Service because it's just an exceptional film. And for the listener, to sum up this secret book and movie, it basically comes down to three different lessons. One, the law of attraction is one of the most prevalent principles in the world, and it is a law, as Matt said. So there's no need for implementation, it just is. So number two, to use this law of attraction, you must think about what you want, not what you want to avoid, right? It's almost like you perceive that you already have something and act in the world as if it is already within your current reality. Number three, the three steps of the law of attraction are asking, believing, and receiving. And to kick this episode off, Matt, I'm just so curious. You've mentioned the law of attraction to me briefly at various points throughout us knowing each other, and I'd love to get your take on it, and just briefly. It's done exceptional things for you throughout your life, correct?
Yeah, absolutely. I was exposed when I was 15 years old. It's interesting. My mother, who was a single mother raising two boys, experienced a myriad of different jobs, as she was raising us. And at one point, there was a multi-level marketing business that she got engaged within. And I think it was called New Horizons, something like that. I'm not even sure if the business is still around. And I am so grateful that my mother got involved with that organization because it exposed her to the law of attraction, the secret. And, I'm blessed to have a mother who cared enough to be able to share some of these resources with one of her children, me. So I learned about law of attraction in 2006 when this book came out. So I think I was one of like the first to be able to get my hands on it, which is like awesome. And super excited to talk about like how it's impacted me, how I've used it over the years, because like the life that I live today was completely manifested, over 10 years ago. It's wild. The only, there's no regrets. I have very few regrets in my life. And the only one that I can think of is just not, having the desire for more impact, like being able to touch and impact more lives and being able to accomplish more big things. Because again, the life that I live today, I had in my mind, I had in my mind's eye, and I live that life today, which is wild. So like everything that I have today, I was able to manifest. Don't get me wrong, there was a lot of work that was involved, but without the law of attraction, without visualization, like my life wouldn't be anywhere near what it looks like today. So like I can't wait to get into it, hear the different questions that you have around law of attraction. But Will, I don't want to skip our MEPS here for a second. So let's check in real quick before we get deep into this conversation. Let's just make sure we're both in a good headspace. If we need to do this another day, we'll do it another day. So do you mind just starting kicking it off like mentally, like how you doing, how you feeling?
Totally, totally. I just woke up so excited to talk about this, based on the movie that The Secret that I watched last night. But Maps, of course, mentally, I'm feeling free because, you know, sometimes I'll feel scattered, but based on this law of attraction, I've realized that I can just focus on the way that I want to feel, and that will come to me based on this wonderful law. Mostly, I'm feeling a little bit reserved, um, just feeling in a listening mood, which is ironic because I'm co-hosting podcasts at the moment, but that's just life. Physically, I'm feeling, I suppose, a little bit cold. Tends to be a little cold in this office. This is totally fine. Good because it makes me alert. And spiritually, I'm feeling passionate because I understand that the law of attraction most certainly exists, but I also know that I can do nothing without the presence of God in my life. So I'm passionate about that very fact. Um, so Matt, what about you?
That's great. I'm sorry you're not feeling as talkative today, but that's okay. I think I can probably talk a little bit more for the two of us today. So that's nice to know. And guys, like that's one of the reasons why Will and I like to check in with MEPS. If he was telling me that, like mentally he's feeling a little scattered, like today may not be the best day for us to be able to have, a deep conversation on something that's that meaningful, like law of attraction. So frequently, like if we're engaging in, like a bigger business meeting, with managers as an example, it's great to just be able to check in with one another. Because again, like someone may have left their house this morning feeling great and then experienced an auto accident on the way into work, and their entire day and life, just got completely derailed. And it's beneficial to be aware, of how someone's feeling, again, mentally, emotionally, physically, spiritually, because we can't ignore that, like we're humans, right? We have feelings, we have things happening in our lives that are outside of the business world. But I found it to be a very effective tool. So for me, Will, mentally, I'm feeling a little bit behind. I've been back to back in meetings most of today, so I haven't had as much time to be able to check in on some of the projects that are taking place at my house. I have four contractors there right now, so little behind mentally, but emotionally, I'm happy. I'm feeling good emotionally. Physically, I feel invincible right now. Workouts are really going well, so I feel good from a health and physical perspective. And then spiritually, I feel energized, like very energized. I've been getting deeper with Jesus Calling, the book that you gave me. So again, I appreciate that. And I'm having deeper conversations with my wife and my kids now because of that. And, it's awesome. So MEP's doing good today. So I'm ready.
Matt, on this topic, it's a bit random, really, but a few weeks ago, you told me you were going to go home, and I hope you don't mind me sharing, but you told me you were going to go home and ask your kids what specifically makes them feel loved. What is it truly that you do that makes them feel loved? And you don't have to go into detail. I don't want to
Yeah.
pry, but I'm curious if you wouldn't mind sharing at least one of those little
Yeah,
tidbits.
I will. So, like this is funny. And what was great is my wife actually overheard me asking my children this, but I did it a little bit differently. So
Brownie
I didn't
points.
come right out. Yeah, right. I didn't come out and say, like, what are the things that I do that make you feel most loved? I did get to that question, but first and foremost, I sat both of my kids down independently. So, like, one wasn't able to hear the other one. And I asked, like, how would you rate me as your dad? They call me Papa, so I'm like, how would you rate me as a Papa? Like how, like on a scale of 1 to 10? Like I just wanted to check in real quick and just understand how I'm doing. And it was great that both of my kids, are like 10, 10 Papa, right? Like you're doing great. I of course was able to reciprocate, right? Like both of you are, obviously 12 out of 10s, in my eyes. And then it led into, the question of like, what are the things that I do that make you feel most loved? Or like, what do I do with you that like make you feel happy? And what was funny is my daughter, like, I don't think she quite understood the context, like the question and where I was coming from. So she took it more of the like, when do you see like Papa the happiest? And it was funny because her response was like, I love it when you get like loud with like enthusiasm. So I love it when you're just like really loud about different things. Like, we're going on this vacation,
Woo!
something like that, just something that's like pumped up excitement. So like that was what she said. And my son was like, whenever we build something together, Papa, like whenever we play cars together, or whenever we get to build something together. So my son just wants to play. And right as a 6-year-old boy, that's what I would expect. But I did share with both of them. I was like, the reason why I was asking, like on a scale of 1 to 10, was because if you had said anything less than 10, like let's say 7 as an example, I would have asked you, well, what do I need to do to get to a 10? And I was hoping that there would be some information that would come forward, but unfortunately there wasn't. So, it was a moment to be able to bring, get my kids, a little bit closer, which was great. But now next up is to do the exact same exercise with my wife, Colleen. So, I don't think, Colleen, you're listening, but if you are, it's coming up, babe. So get ready. I'm going to be asking you, right, as a husband, rate me on a scale of 1 to 10. And then if it's anything but a 10, what can I do to be better? So I'm excited to be, to do that journey with her too.
Get ready, Miss Colleen. And the reason that I
Ready.
ask you, Matt, is because, you know, obviously your kids didn't give you maybe the feedback that you wanted, but I suppose no news is good news, if you will. But you can utilize the law of attraction by asking them as you did, and then taking the feedback that they give you, believing that you already um, demonstrate the feedback that they've given you, and then you can receive it from the universe and be a
Right.
better papa because you asked. And this is all
Yes.
about going after feedback. And for the listener, you can do that with your kids. You can do that with your romantic partner. You can do that with your friends. And I bet you, if you were to do that with your best friend, say, so and so, you know, on a 1 to 10 scale, how well am I doing as your friend? Right? They'd probably be blown away that you're even
Yeah.
taking the time to ask that. Because most people, they don't ask because they don't want to feel rejected. But based on this law of attraction, you can reject rejection and then go out and
Right.
create what you
Yes.
want.
I reject your rejection. Yeah, you're
Yeah,
totally right. And well, like so many relationships are just surface level. And, like we've talked about this, right? Being able to get a little bit deeper. And how do you go deeper, right? This is one of those exercises that one would utilize to be able to get deeper in a relationship, right? If it's anything but a 10, there shouldn't be judgment. It should just be met with curiosity. Like, oh, I'm a 7? Right? Like, I'm curious. Like, where does that come from? Right? Again, it's not good. It's not bad. Like, let's not label things, but intentionally, let's get deeper with relationships. But
right.
one other unique, concept that comes to mind when we're talking about um, the evaluation, right, of a relationship, right? If you're seeking feedback, constructive criticism, what could I be doing to be better, as an example? I think of a different, thought experiment that's helped me throughout my life that I learned directly from Charlie Munger. Not directly from him, but reading, about Charlie and listening to speeches and different uh, interviews that he's conducted over the years. And he has a process of inversion. So, like, if you don't have, I guess, the comfortability to come right out and ask the individual that you want to better understand, right? Like, how do you rate a relationship? One could just ask, like, how do I guarantee a really bad relationship with this person? Right? And you begin thinking about, the different things that could be done, right? It's like, okay, I don't do what I say I'm going to do. I don't, meet them when I tell them that I'm going to meet them. I don't take into consideration their thoughts, their feelings. I don't care about what they want to do, right? It's going to be me, my agenda. You're going to be doing what I want you to do, right? So you just think about, it's like to have a great relationship, you can think about what would make a really bad relationship, create that list, and then just don't do any of those things, right? Like it's like a very simple, process, but it's like, as an example, it's like, how do you guarantee a miserable life? It's okay. Like you become dependent upon drugs. You don't do the things that you say that you're going to do, right? Like these are two things that you absolutely will guarantee a miserable life. And then number three, right? You spend more than you make. Like, okay, that's how you have a terrible life. So don't do any of these things, right? If you're dependent upon drugs and alcohol for happiness or for an escape, you're spending more money than you currently make. Obviously, you're going to be in debt. You're just robbing from tomorrow, which is terrible. And then not, being a man of your word or not fulfilling the things that you said you were going to do. Right now, you have no integrity. No one believes that you'll, be loyal or, will be there. Right? You will have a miserable life. So
100%.
kind of a unique concept, to think through. It's like the law of inversion and then the law of attraction. It's like kind of two similar type components that I think through, as I'm looking for answers or, as I'm seeking feedback or more information, just as an example.
Right. And on the topic of drugs and alcohol, those are, tactics that people use to escape. But if you're
Yeah.
using the law of attraction the way it's supposed to be utilized, there's no point to escape because you allow yourself to perceive that you already have what you want. So why would you escape the life that you want? Would
That's
you say
it.
that's accurate?
That's it. Yeah, very accurate. And a part of the law of attraction is effectively lying to yourself because your subconscious mind does not know like reality. So by saying to oneself, right, like let's pretend that, like I'm broke and, financial security is what I'm after. So I would continuously be repeating to myself, like money comes to me easily and frequently. Money comes to me easily and frequently. I'm putting that out into the universe because that's what I want to become true. Like attract like. So if I'm going to be negative, I'm going to attract negative events into my life. So most people think about the things that they don't want, right? I don't want to get hit by a surprise bill. I don't want a flat tire, right? I don't want no money in my bank account. They're focusing their attention on the things that they don't want, not the things that they actually want, pretending as if they already have them, right? It's just a unique phenomenon that we as humans are just we're just terrible thinkers. It's like we all need to be taught specifically how to think because the mind consistently plays tricks over and over on oneself. And we don't want to fall into these tricks and traps. In a way, it's like the devil, just entering into the brain, to create these trips, to make us focus on the negative. So, like when I think of like law of attraction, like it's like positivity, right? Team God. And then over here we have like bad energy, drugs, alcohol, lying, disloyalty, like there's just
Infidelity,
two
right?
different sides. Yeah, right, exactly. So like I look at it as like positivity, right? Team God, negativity, team devil. That's how I think about this. Maybe I'm just weird and unique in that fashion, but that's just how I think
Similar to the cartoons, how there's a god on your shoulder and there's a devil on the other.
for the most part, right? Like, is that not pretty much like what happens to all of us?
I would say that's accurate.
Because I do. At least for me in my life, it is.
Yeah. Yeah, it's fascinating. And the secret, watching the film, it's about an hour and a half. It just had chills as I was watching it because it made reference to all of the greats, all of the people on the one $5 bill, Abe Lincoln, George Washington. They knew about this, and they had a hard time, I mentioned in the film, explaining it, but all they could say was that it was true and that it existed.
Right.
And so many phenomenal people throughout history and people that you have certainly listened to throughout your career, and I'm starting to listen to now, Jack Canfield. He has utilized this law throughout his career in a phenomenal way, right? He mentioned in The Secret that there was a point in his life when he was making $8,000 a year and he wanted to make $100,000 in a year. So what he did was he took a $1 bill, he took a Sharpie to it, and you're smiling. It seems as though you know what I'm gonna say.
Because I did the same thing after I watched it. So
I did the
keep
same
going.
thing
Sorry, keep
last
going, keep
night.
going. Ah, my man.
He
Let me
took a
see if I
dollar
have my.
bill.
I think I might even have one from like 20 years ago.
Oh,
So anyway, sorry, keep going while I'm
I'm
looking for
having
this.
chills, listener. I truly am. But Jack Canfield, he took this dollar, he took a Sharpie to it, and he wrote next to the one, he wrote 50. No, sorry, however many zeros it is. He wrote $100,000, right? Because that's what he wanted. And he didn't know how he was going to he has it. For
Sorry,
those
for
that
those that are listening on the camera, I just pulled out the $1 from 2006 that I wrote on. And what's funny, Will, is I wrote 1 billion on the $1. Not a million. Sorry to cut you off, but I'm distracting Will here by showing this $1 billion bill that I have in a wallet in my backpack from, 2006.
and it's a good luck charm. And Jack Canfield, he utilized the law of attraction and he wanted to sell his most famous book, Chicken Soup for the Soul. He didn't know how he was going to sell X number of copies in order to gain $100,000. but he did it. He achieved not $100,000, but $92,000. And just fantastic how he did it. And so he stuck that dollar bill above his bed when he was sleeping. So on the ceiling, he taped it to his ceiling. And I did the same thing last night. I wrote $1 million, and I plan to wake up and see that because that's what I want. And I'm going to utilize the law of attraction to get there. I don't know how. Listener, I'm not saying I know how to do that right now, but I know it's going to happen because I'm just going to manifest it. And this stems from the reason I was so excited to chat about this with you today, because between a reverend talking, an entrepreneur talking, visionaries, just all these phenomenal people have utilized this law. And there was another story in the film where this gentleman had just moved into the house of his dreams. And there's a moment when he's sitting in his office with boxes all around, and his son walks in. He sits on a box and he's kicking on the box, swaying his feet as young kids do. And this entrepreneur says to his son, "Hey, Tommy, please stop kicking the box. I don't want you to damage whatever's in there." So he opens the box up and he sees his vision boards on there for the last, X number of years. He pulls it out and this entrepreneur starts crying. Why? Because the dream house that he had on the vision board was the exact same house that he moved into. And I just think it's phenomenal. Matt, I don't know if you've ever created a vision board, but I most certainly have it at the top of my to-do list to create one.
Hmm. I have, and that's, like what I say is, the life that I'm living today is effectively the vision board that I created back in 2006. And what's even, crazier, right, is like I didn't know my wife in 2006. I almost could see like my two children back then in my mind's eye. Obviously I'm not putting pictures of random people on a vision board, right? But like I always wanted two children. I wanted a boy and a girl. I wanted the wife of my dreams, who I have, right? Like it's just wild to go back and revisit these things from so long ago, because it's like, God forbid if I just never did these things, like if I didn't have this understanding, like what would my life look like today? And like I go back and forth between the law of attraction and just calling it faith, because in a way, to me, it's just the same thing. And the biblical lens that's associated with the law of attraction is just substantial. And I do think, we should talk about some of these parallels, because again, to me, the law of attraction like is a synonym for faith. Right? Earlier you said there's three steps. The steps are to ask for it, to believe that it's coming, and to receive. Like, how is that much different than having faith that something will happen? Right? You're asking, right? Perhaps in a form of prayer.
Right.
You believe, that's the faith aspect. And then you're receiving these things into your life as you maintain the positivity, as you can see it, as you can close your eyes and visualize what's taking place.
100%. And there is a direct parallel between the law of attraction and being a faithful person. So much so that I took some time with scripture and documented a few verses that meant something to me in accordance with this law. And in Hebrews chapter 11, verse 1, it says, "Faith is the substance of things hoped for." So if you're
Wait,
sitting
say that
there,
again. Say that one more time.
faith is the substance of things hoped for.
Yes, exactly.
Right.
That's my point. Exactly.
Yeah. So if you're sitting there and you're a faithful person, you speak to God, you tend to pray,
Yeah.
right?
But
It's
isn't there also some type of scripture in John about, like asking him for the things that you desire in life, right? Like, do you know what I'm talking about? Are you familiar with what I'm talking about?
Yes, I do. The book of John, chapter 5, verse 14, if we ask anything according to his will, he will hear us.
Whether it's positive or negative.
Right. Because the law of attraction is obedient, doesn't know the difference.
Correct. And that's where it's very hard to like understand and to comprehend and to accept this law, as reality. But like gravity, where I could walk outside, I could hold up an apple, drop it, watch it hit the floor, right? Quantitative evidence of what this is. But can you explain it? No, you can't. Well, you could, right? If you were, a
Okay.
physicist and,
Right.
scientist and so forth. But the average man cannot explain how gravity works, nor can the average man explain how the law of attraction works. However, this was not included in the 2006, movie The Secret or whenever it came out because they hadn't advanced quantum physics to the level where it's at today, but they have proven quantifiably the law of attraction through quantum physics. It has been proven, it has been evidenced that positive thoughts are like they're not like, they are waves that move throughout this universe. And these positive thought waves attract other positive waves into your life. It's like attract like. Negative attracts negative. So when you're sitting in traffic and you're saying, like, I don't want traffic, like this traffic's going to make me late. This traffic's going to make me late. What are you wishing for? What are you putting out into the universe?
Or traffic.
Traffic, traffic, late, late, traffic, late. What do you think's going to happen?
You're most certainly going to be late.
Therefore, it's difficult for one to sit in that chair, grasp the steering wheel, smile, and be like, oh, what fun. I'm going to be on time. I'm going to be on time. I'm grateful that the roads are clear. That's the mentality and that's the thought process that one needs to begin shifting towards to be able to utilize the law of attraction to their benefit, to begin manifesting the things that they want in their life. But what's wild here is my mentor, so Jim Abrams, and I have had deep conversations on the law of attraction. I mean, I'm sure we've invested tens of hours together on this one individual topic. And he, like me, firm believer in the law of attraction and has been able to utilize it to manifest the life of his dreams. However, we both agree that the law of attraction and understanding it is not enough. It has to, one, be put into practice, and number two, there needs to be substance behind the things that you want. Meaning there has to then, it's not enough to just be like, I want this, I want this. I'm closing my eyes, I'm seeing it as if I already have it. I want this, I want this. The mind then needs to shift to what are some practical methodologies that one could utilize to be able to ascertain whatever it is that I want. It may
Okay.
be a connection, right? It may be a relationship that helps unlock that door. It could be planning. It could be sitting down to write a business plan, right? You follow me? Like
Totally following you.
there has to be a plan behind how I'm going to get these things. So when you have this $1 million bill sitting on your ceiling and you're laying at bed at night looking at it when you see it in the morning, that's not enough. It's not enough to just see in your mind's eye a million sitting in your bank account and seeing how you'd be allocating that capital or taking care of your family or your parents or whatever it may be. The mind then needs to shift over towards what is a practical avenue that I could begin moving down, at least directionally, be right, that gets me closer to being able to achieve this monetary outcome.
Right. What kind
So
of
the
financial habits do I
substance,
need to have? Who do I need to speak to more often?
exactly. And then one utilizes the law of attraction for these initial next steps, not on the grand vision.
Right.
Meaning, like as an example, you want this $1 million. You're visualizing it, you have it written on this dollar bill. You've said earlier, right? I'm not quite sure how I'm going to get there. Little do you know, Will, you've already attracted into your life someone who can show you the path. That's what you already attracted into your life, right? So it's like, I want this thing. I don't know how I'm going to get it. So by utilizing the law of attraction, you can bring into your life the people who will unveil the pathway forward, or the idea, or the product, right? You following me?
100%.
So that's where the substance comes into play. It's
Right.
what can I begin to do to manufacture my own life?
Right.
If I stir up enough dust, like what will happen?
Right.
So there has to be action and activity, the substance behind wanting something.
And dangerous consistency, if you will, too. Right. You have to
Oh, yeah, consistency,
believe
discipline, right? Yes.
incessantly. You have to believe because there could just be little Easter eggs, right? I'm Will.
Unwavering belief.
I'm living in Montana. I stumble across this wonderful person named Matt who's going to become my mentor. I moved from Montana to Florida. I have no idea what I'm doing with my life, but the Lord's looking out for me. This law of attraction. I don't know what's going to happen, but I know I'm going to put my best foot forward and do the absolute best I can to learn as much as I possibly can and to do a good job. I thought about that so often as I was driving back. I don't know how this is gonna go, but I'm going to do my absolute best. Um, oh man, that's awfully
It's
cool.
wild when you really think about it, but at the same time, Will, like every task that I've given you, you've done it to the best of your ability.
Yeah,
It's not right. Like it's not like I'm looking for an excuse as to why I shouldn't work hard. So you've been able to work very hard, right, on all of the different tasks. And how you do one thing generally is how you do everything. So
right,
frequently there's someone who's, sweeping the floor of a McDonald's, who's thinking that they'll never amount to something because that's what they've always been told. But by doing that one job better than everyone else on this planet, you will be recognized and you will be provided with greater opportunity, more responsibility because it's been earned. And so frequently people are like, I'm not willing to do this unless I get paid for it. Just a terrible mentality. Instead of I'm going to do this and deliver and pour so much value onto my employer, but they have no choice but to pay me more. It's just like a complete, different type of, mindset that exists. But I still believe it comes and ties back to the law of attraction. Because in
100%.
the law of attraction, in a way, you know where your starting point is, right? Like that's A. We all know where the starting point is because it's us, right? It's our life. So
Mhm.
we are able to internally reflect. We know what position A looks like. What we want is Z, right? Like we're sitting at A, we want to get to Z. What we need to figure out is the next logical step, which is B. That's where we're going to place our mind, our attention, and focus on the law of attraction to bringing B into fruition. I'm not worrying about C and the messy middle. I care about A, B, and Z. Once I have B come into my life, I am then going to begin focusing on C. Naturally, I want to be directionally right, but I may course correct.
Right.
Let me ask you this. If you are if you are in a rowboat in the middle of a lake and
I'm visualizing.
you're not allowed to move, okay? Can you change directions?
No,
What do you have to be doing to move
I have to
or
row.
change directions? You have to move.
Right.
So, right, like in order to course correct, one has to be moving. So just start rowing. Row in the direction that you believe is right. Answers will come. And that's when you begin making course corrections and you start to say, okay, we're not going to go this way. We're going to go this way. We're going to go a little bit to the left. We're going to go a little bit to the right. As you
Right.
gain more information, as more resources come into your life, as you gain knowledge.
Yeah. It's all about taking what you're learning and just pivoting. Fail
It
fast,
is.
pivot.
But my point is, if you're just sitting on the couch, saying like, okay, 100 gold bars in my living room, 100 gold bars in my living room, will it ever happen? No, it will not.
No.
So don't trick yourself in thinking, the law of attraction, I just have to think positive. I just have to get my mind right. Like, no, that's the starting point to get into the game of designing your own life.
Right.
That is the starting point that it enables manifestation to at least be a possibility for you.
Right. And so on this alphabet analogy, if we start out at A and we finish at Z, there's effectively 26 steps. So why would you think of it you could achieve what you want if you're only completing steps one or two? Makes
Right.
sense.
Yeah. But I'm sure you've also heard, right? Like, how do you eat an elephant?
Well, we got to start somewhere.
One bite at a time.
Yeah.
That's it.
That's
Right? Like,
it.
we're not going to take the whole thing down, like one bite at a time. So,
100%.
one foot in front of the next is effectively how we build our lives.
And I think when it comes to earning what you have, you mentioned that earlier, I would much rather earn anything that I ever accumulate throughout my life through hard work because I'll appreciate it so much more. And I remember
Yeah, it's
reading one
value.
of your journal entries from a few years ago. You said there's no reason for somebody to clap for you for simply doing your job. And I think about that often. Sometimes I'll be up early doing little work tasks and I'll think, oh, I feel good. I just accomplished a task. But I'm like, hang on, I just did the bare minimum. I just did what is expected of me. And that mindset shift, that Sunday morning that you took at 7:30 in the morning, just to write that. You were doing it for yourself, you were doing it for your employees. It's just meant the world to me to realize that because it allows me to put forth so much more effort because I'm starting to believe that the law of attraction is based on effort, and I can only get what I want by utilizing it and putting forth a ton of effort. I mean,
Yes.
I'm
Yes. There
assuming
you go.
with a little bit of luck, right?
Hmm.
You've been able to achieve what you
Hmm.
were after. But the majority of your dreams came through hard work. What is,
Yeah.
I believe it's Jack Canfield or it might be somebody else, but he's like, uh, luck equals opportunity, no, effort times opportunity, something like
That's
that.
it.
Yeah,
Yeah. Effort times
luck equals
opportunity.
times opportunity. I really enjoy
Yeah.
that.
Because, like those that have had lucky breaks, how do you not know that that is not just faith in the law of attraction at work here?
Right.
Right? So I've been, and well, I guess let me back up. Do you perceive yourself as a lucky person?
I do. Blessed, if you will, might be a better word.
Okay. I consider myself to be an incredibly lucky person, probably one of the luckiest people like on the face of this planet. Again, because of the life that I live, the family that I have, the health that I have, the relationships that I have, like with you, Will, right? Like I have everything. I have everything. So of course I think I'm a very lucky person. But I thought I was a very lucky person before I even had all that. And that's where it comes back to the law of attraction. So if you're listening to this and you don't think you're a lucky person, you have just failed the test on whether or not you're utilizing the law of attraction in, an appropriate manner. Because if you don't think you're lucky, right? That's negative. That's team devil. So something's crept into your mind that makes you believe that you're not a lucky person. And that's ridiculous because we can also manufacture our own luck. And we manufacture our own luck based upon effort. So that is where effort times opportunity in many circumstances does, equate to luck. But, at the same time, like I hate attaching, like quote, success or quote, happiness to a single outcome because there is luck involved in life.
Right,
Good luck and bad luck,
right,
right? Things happen. And in my life, whether this is just me specifically, I don't think it is, just based upon the relationships that I have with other big business executives. But I do believe that God will test you to see if you are who you claim to be. You will be tested over and over again.
right. Because the law of attraction stems from growth, and to achieve the growth that we
Yes.
want, we can only do that through pain and this
Yes.
struggle that we will experience, especially as followers of the Lord. I mean, you think about the trials and tribulations that the Lord went through to become the whole reason, at least I'll speak for myself, I exist, right? I mean, it's just fantastic. So who am I to think that I can have the life that I want without struggling? I
Hmm.
have to.
Hmm.
And I
Yep.
take all of that with open arms
Yep.
because
Yep.
I try to wake up every day, and I'll do even more so now that I've seen The Secret again. But one of the actors in the film, he wakes up every single day, and the first two words out of his mouth, doesn't even matter if his wife hears it or if it's just to himself, he says, "Thank you."
Thank you. Yep.
Exactly. Exactly. Then he walks to his bathroom, he looks himself in the mirror and says, "I'm grateful for X, Y, Z, etc.,
Hmm.
etc."
I do the same thing. Will, when my foot hits the floor, I say thank. When my left foot hits, I say you, and then I finish it with God. It's the first three words out of my mouth every single morning.
Yeah. And I
Every
was
single morning. And that's obviously where I picked it up from, right? Like I've already said, I'm a shameless cloner, right? I'm not trying to invent anything. I want to take the things that have worked for others that have achieved the level of success that I'm after in my life, and I want to model what they've done.
right. And you're effectively not wasting your time. You're not wasting the people's time that you're trying to support, right? Through building these businesses, right? If
Correct.
you model what already works, you can help people faster.
Right. Yes, that's it. But
And if
like
you,
I took the law of attraction when it first came into my life, Will, when I say I took it so seriously, like I refused to be in the same room with a television that had the news on it. So like I remember in middle school, there was a classroom where one of the teachers wanted, to have whatever Fox, CNN, I can't remember what it was. I would not enter the room because I didn't want to be exposed to any negative information of what was happening in the world. I would not look at a newspaper. If someone would start speaking negatively about a friend, I would walk away. I was like, I want to be in a negativity free zone. I was excessive about relentless. And I think it really helped me. I don't think that it was necessarily like healthy to be like that obsessive about it. But it's wild. Like my mom started calling me like her golden retriever because I was always just like happy, smiley, like wagging my tail, right? Like a golden retriever would.
right,
And it was like self-trained. It was like who doesn't want to develop a pleasing, pleasant personality? And who are pleasant and pleasing people? Are they not people that are just abundantly positive, who just radiate enthusiasm, right? Like, are those not those people?
they
I
totally
wanted,
are.
I wanted to be that. And this is one of the resources, the law of attraction, that enabled me to become that person.
It's funny you say that. I actually thought about that as I was heading home last night. You do walk in, regardless of any kind of problems you'll face in the day. I don't know if it's because Jesus' calling or scripture or something has helped you on a day-to-day basis, but every day you walk in as this smile, excuse me if this is not a word, but smiliest person in the room. I mean, it's probably so obvious to you, but you're the loudest, you're the happiest, right? Your daughter would certainly be proud of you walking into work. You're just the loudest, you're happy.
She'd be like,
It's
that's when you're a 10, Papa.
yes, Papa, yes. But I mean, it's just fantastic, it's inspired me to such a point. I told you this morning when you walked in, I was like, Matt, I wasn't. You caught me off guard. I had what I was going to say to you this morning planned out in my head. Sounds so stupid, but it's like tomorrow, blah blah blah. But yeah, I mean,
But it goes back to
positivity.
what we were talking about earlier, right? Like you have a choice. You get to choose every day who you're going to be. Are
Yeah,
you going to walk in with your head down, or are you going to be that ray of sunshine? I don't know what your morning was like. Maybe you had a terrible morning, and maybe I can be that person that turns it around today. I don't
yeah,
want to be the person that needs to be turned around ever, right? Like I don't like this concept that people need motivation. Like I think that like if you're not internally motivated, like something's wrong. I don't think that one needs to turn to external sources for motivation. And perhaps it should be a topic in of itself for another conversation, Will.
certainly.
But, like I take it as like that's my role. Like it's my role to be grounded. It's my role to be the rock. It's my role to be the enthusiastic, excited, um, you know, just ray of sunshine.
Hmm. Hmm. Yeah,
And I signed up for it. So I signed up for it ever since I watched The Law of Attraction.
yeah. Well, you're gonna have to radiate some sort of vibe. Might as well be a happy, positive vibe as opposed to a dreary and dire one.
No, you're totally right. Because a vibe is going to be radiated. Like
Yeah,
you don't have a choice as to whether that happens or not. It is happening, no
yeah,
matter what. Like it's happening.
100%. And now I'm thinking about the next topic. I mean, a quote that I think about all the time is action precedes motivation. I remember in
Hmm.
Strava, this person was writing in a group. He was like, I'm having trouble running. I don't feel like it anymore. And all I said was action precedes motivation. And people were fired up because of it. But I think it's true.
Hmm.
I mean, if you
I do
think
too.
about it, you sit down to do something you don't want to do for 5 minutes, and then all of a sudden you're like, oh, I can do this
Yeah, and how
because
good do you feel when you're done?
phenomenal.
Right? That's that high that I chase.
Yeah,
When you think about like the happiest moments of your life, you were probably doing something really hard. And you probably overcame some either hardship or you solved some problem. Maybe you were working with other smart people. Maybe there was some, camaraderie, that existed between you and others doing some hard stuff together.
yeah,
And, like when you hear about some like very, very successful people, they talk about the journey was what was rewarding. Again, not achieving or arriving at an end destination because that's not what success is. Success is the journey in of itself. It's the hard work. It's knowing that you've given it your all, that you left it all out on that field. That's what success is ultimately about. Again, because there is luck involved.
right,
If you left nothing in the tank, Will, nothing, and you knew there wasn't a single more ounce of energy that you could give on whatever task it is that we're speaking about, you should go to bed feeling great. You should have your head lifted high. I don't care if you lost the game, right? Again, that's what I'm saying. Like, I'm not attempting to attach happiness or success to a specific outcome. I don't want to do that.
right,
I want to attach it to the things that I can control. And what can I control is my work ethic. I can control my attitude. I can control my thoughts. I can control whether I'm a prick in the office and whether I'm friendly and fun to be around.
right,
I can take an extra 5 minutes of my day to ask how you're doing.
right. And
Really,
you
how are
do
you
that
doing?
all the time with people you don't have business with here at the office that you don't collaborate with. And I think it's exceptional. I think more people could learn from you in that capacity.
It's like if you knew the impact that it created in my life. Like for you, it's almost like you're probably thinking like, how can you afford the time to do this? Meanwhile, over on my side, because this is how I live my life, it's like I can't afford not to do these things. I can't afford not to care.
Yeah.
Because
I had a
again, with the businesses that I've been involved with, Will, these have been service businesses. And in a service business, your people are the product, period.
right,
And, in a day where we're not communicating as much because of artificial intelligence, we're not writing as much, our grammar's, going down the drain, there's less connection taking place. People don't know how to communicate with each other anymore.
right.
People
What
are
is a
hiding behind
semicolon?
screens.
Joking.
Yes.
Yeah,
It's just like now is the time to develop the relationships. Now is the time to enhance your emotional, intelligence, to be able to get further than the surface level, to get deeper, to learn how to forge new relationships with givers and matchers, not takers.
right.
In fact, Will, I saved in a book this morning, I had no intention of sharing this, but in a book that I was reading this morning, I had saved this just because it made me, think about you from a conversation we had earlier this week. And this is the exact quote from the book that I'm going to read to you right now. It said, listening is important, but someone who only listens is taking without giving and doing a disservice to the group. So it goes back to that conversation we were having about, your friend who's incredibly reserved. And it goes back to my concept of, are you going to be a taker, a matcher, or a giver? Like, which of these three are you ultimately going to be? So I do think about all of my relationships, all of my interactions, every single one of them. And I want to be either a matcher or a giver. I do not want to be the taker.
Right.
But that is a choice that I have made at this point in my life. Again, the whole first half was all about taking, taking, taking. And now because I've taken so much, I have the obligation to return and give. And, I think that's a lot of society, right? A lot of us are just playing the game to win, Survivor early on. And those of us that make it, it's like, wow, like we have this obligation to be able to provide knowledge back to others.
Yeah, totally. Matt, that makes me think of another journal entry you wrote because a listener could be sitting there thinking, "Well, geez, I could be a giver, but I don't have much to give." Well, there's no
Yes, you
monetary
do.
value associated with giving. It doesn't have to be that way. You can give your time, right? You wrote a letter
That's it.
to your employees saying, "Oh, I can't give. I don't have money to donate to hurricane victims." And
Hmm.
you said, "No one's asking you to pull out your wallet, but you can go to various
Pick
homes that
up
have been
debris, cut down a
destroyed,
tree.
pick up
Oh yeah.
debris,
Hmm.
cut down." Yes, and I was like, oh, just bars, really. I just loved it. So, we'll wrap up here. I mean, Matt, as always, I mean, I feel enlightened. So thanks a ton for being here with me today. I do have a quote of the day from the one and only Richard Dennis. He is an eloquent writer. He certainly has no room to lose his grammatical prowess, if you will. But he writes, "Never let the fear of failure or the doubts of others deter you from your dreams. Embrace the silence of those who doubt you, for it is the sweetest sound you will ever hear. And don't ever quit." So, Mr.
Love it.
Dennis, for you. Fantastic author. Check out his book if you're so inclined, How to Get Rich. It's a wonderful, wonderful read. Um, so Matt, any closing thoughts?
No, I think, we nailed it on Law of Attraction. I highly recommend watching The Secret. My preference would be to watch the movie instead of reading the book because the visuals help bring some of the principles to reality. And in a way, seeing is believing. So you have to see how this works in order to believe that it does work. But again, whether you believe in gravity or not, it doesn't matter. The
Right,
law exists.
right.
So since it exists, you might as well just take advantage of it.
100%. And if you watch the film, you might wake up the next day with a gratitude rock in your pocket. And if you don't know what that is right now, you will once you watch the film. So go ahead and enjoy that.
That's it.
And Matt and I will be looking forward to chatting in the next episode. Thanks so much, Matt.